Hi everyone, this is Drew from Animal Adventures. If you've watched our past two series, then you're definitely going to recognize me, but if you have not, then welcome. My name is Drew, I am a zookeeper, and today we're going to be going over all different animals located only in South America. So I have a wide variety here. We have some reptiles, some mammals, even a bird, and actually we're going to see a few birds today. So we're going to go over all these different animals in depth, talk a little bit about each one, and you'll get to see them super up close right at the camera. All right, so let me get started with, let's see, how about we'll start with a very small furry. All right, this first animal we're checking out today is called a common daegu. So daegus are found in South America. They're found predominantly in parts of Chile around the Andes Mountains, and they're going to be found more at the base. So they're very similar to the chinchilla, but these guys are not as high up in the mountains and they don't live in as rocky areas as the chinchilla. What they're more known for is ground dwelling. So they're going to live right on the ground and they're going to be great burrowers as well. So they're going to dig large tunnel systems and go underground with other daegus. We have 4 of them that live together now and they all do great. We make sure that they have plenty of area for them to dig and burrow in. And they are really a super interesting animal. Looking at that smaller tail that they have, it's not as big as some rodents' tails, but it is almost more like a gerbil tail. And what they can do with it, if they feel threatened and say an animal grabs them on the tail, they do something that's kind of painful for them, but it's called a fur slip. So that's the process of releasing most of that skin and fur off of the tail, and then it's going to give them a chance to escape. It does not feel good for the daegu to do, but it's a last resort that they can do if they're absolutely threatened. Now, as a rodent, these guys have teeth that never stop growing. So that's going to be really important if you have one as a pet to make sure that it gets lots and lots of things to chew on. They want to be able to gnaw on different foods to wear down those sharp teeth and keep them nice and short. But this will also help them to be the perfect sharpness to break through a more crunchy diet. So we feed them different kind of a variety. They get a rodent block, they get some different pelleted food like a mixture of guinea pig and chinchilla, and it's nice to add a bit of variety to their diet, as well as a good amount of hay for them to eat as well. All right, they're pretty interesting looking. They almost look like a mix between a chinchilla, a gerbil, and a squirrel. So they're really, I think they're pretty adorable. And they are super new here as well. So if you ever come on down, you can definitely check out one of these daegus that we have here. All right, I'm going to swap this one out for a very similar rodent called the chinchilla. All right, so this one here is a chinchilla. This is one that is much more popular in the pet trade than probably the daegu that we last saw. And they are also found in a very similar area to those daegus. So you're gonna find chinchillas in the Andes Mountains as well, so throughout Chile. And they're gonna be in the more mid-range of the mountain. So they're definitely gonna be high up there, but where it's more rocky and kind of cool, they don't like the top because it's a bit too cold. The bottom's a bit too hot, so the middle is just right. So I kind of compare them to Goldilocks oftentimes because they like it just right. The perfect temperature is going to be right in the middle for a chinchilla. All right, these guys are known for jumping. They can do a jump 6 feet from one rock to the next, which is pretty incredible. And that's going to be very helpful since they are in such a rocky terrain. Being able to quickly escape from a predator or just move from one spot to the next is going to be very important for them. So another pretty cool thing that's actually kind of disgusting is if a chinchilla feels threatened, what they can do is stand on their back feet on those hind legs and they can pee 6 feet in front of them. So it's kind of like a built-in squirt gun. They will definitely utilize that to get predators away from them. Peeing right at them will kind of be a good distraction and gives them a chance to evade those predators. All right, if you look at these long whiskers here, whenever a chinchilla is moving, those whiskers will move with them. All right, so it's kind of like having your arms out on a balance beam. But as soon as a chinchilla stops moving, the whiskers will stop. So let's see if I can demonstrate that a little bit better for you. So right now you can see he's wiggling, those are moving, and then watch what happens when I stop him. They do slow down a lot. So that's going to be very helpful when they're on a rock and when they're doing those very long distance jumps to make sure that they stick the landing and feel more confident in the leap that they take. All right, as a rodent, these guys also have those teeth that never stop growing, and they have a fully collapsible skeleton, and that's going to allow them to squeeze into tight areas. So anywhere where a chinchilla's head can fit, its entire body can fit behind. So let's see if I can demonstrate that a little bit for you. So we like to do what's called hot dog mode. And you can see I can get pretty flat down the side. It's actually good if you have a chinchilla to do that with them to help prevent arthritis, which is something that's very common for them. So if you watched one of our last videos where we talked about the ferrets, we did a similar technique and behavior to help move their body since they do get a little bit lazy in captivity. All right. What's really, really awesome about chinchillas is just how soft they are. They are the softest land mammal in the world. The only animal with denser fur than a chinchilla is the sea otter, but sea otters are almost always wet. So you don't notice just how soft they are, since it's more of just a constantly wet fur. But chinchillas, on the other hand, do not like getting wet. If one of these guys gets wet, it takes over a week to fully dry, and in that time, there's a good chance that they will get mold on their skin. So instead, they're going to take a different type of bath. Chinchillas take what's called a dust bath, and that involves them rolling around in dust. In the wild, it will predominantly be volcanic ash, and that gets all the moisture and all the oils off of their fur and prevents them from getting any mold on their fur. And the reason they have to is because of that dense coat. And for comparison, humans, on our heads, we have 1 to 3 hairs per hair follicle, while chinchillas have anywhere from 50 to 100 fur per follicle. So it's a very, very dense coat. All right, they're incredibly soft. Because of that nice thick coat, these guys are unfortunately used often for their fur for clothing. It's not as popular anymore, but it definitely is still used to this day. And it takes over 100 chinchillas to make a single fur coat because they are on the smaller side. They are not as big as some of the other animals that are used for fur. All right, and the last thing I really want to talk about chinchillas is that they do make a great pet, but you really have to be prepared to get a chinchilla before you do decide to. They're not always going to be the friendliest or the cuddliest. You do have to handle them every single day, just like a guinea pig. You want to keep them used to you, keep them super friendly. And the biggest thing is that they can live up to 25 years. You can have your chinchilla for a very long time. So if you're not ready for a commitment that long, maybe they're not going to be the best pet for you. Maybe you'd rather stick to something like a rat or a hamster that is still an awesome pet but might have a bit of a shorter lifespan. All right, so chinchillas are great. I think they're pretty adorable. They're amazing at balance and they are so soft. And we're going to move on to the next animal. Up next, we have a very beautiful bird. This one here is Cher, and Cher is an ivory-billed aracari, which is a type of toucan. So they are a very, very small member of the toucan family. They are super tiny, but they have beautiful, vibrant colors all over their body. Lots of reds and yellows on their chest. Looks a little white here, but it is bright yellow. And a nice long beak. And they're going to use that beak to help get any of the fruit that they want to eat, but also to help get nectar. So these guys love to drink nectar. They have a very long feathered tongue. So the feathering on the tongue allows them to pick more nectar up on it and pull it back into the mouth. So having a nice long beak is honestly mostly there to protect that long tongue, and it's a very weak bite. So a rule of thumb with birds, if they have a long beak far from the face, it's pretty weak, pretty dull. So a bite from them feels almost like chopsticks. It's very, very weak. While a short beak close to the face, like a parrot's beak, is going to be very powerful. That's going to be more for crushing, and it's going to really help with breaking through like a hard nut or seed or any other vegetation that they're trying to go after. Okay, Cher lives with us and with her boyfriend Sunny, so we have Sunny and Cher, and the two of them live together. We got them as a rescued pair from a hoarding situation, and they are awesome. Sunny does not really like to be held, but Cher is great. She does not mind. She'll step right up on us, no effort at all, and she'll hang out with us for a long, long time until she's ready to go back, and we will definitely give her that chance when she's ready to. What else about these guys? Let's see. They have a very weak beak, like I mentioned. So one thing with them is that they're not going to be able to eat through a lot of the regular fruits that you might see other animals eating in Central and South America, like these guys do enjoy eating. So what they have to do instead is wait for that fruit to fall from the tree and kind of smash on the forest floor, and then they'll be able to gobble it up after. They are so weak that they can't even break through the skin of a grape too easily. So you want to make sure that their food is nice and soft. nice and small for them. So for their food every day, we kind of mush it up, get it into little bites, and that's gonna make it a lot easier for them to eat. We also give them a little bit of dog food as well, which adds a bit of protein to their diet, which is pretty helpful. And now that her beak is open, we might be able to see her tongue stick out every now and then. Let's see, yeah, see it at the roof of the mouth there. And if it does stick out again, we'll be able to see just how feathered it is, which is pretty awesome. Now you might be noticing on her wrist, she has a little, or I guess more her ankle, she has a little band. Oftentimes with birds in captivity, a small band like that is just a way to help guarantee that if they did get loose, you'd be able to find their home because it has their unique identification number, similar to when a dog or a cat gets a chip inserted in their back. In the wild, when people band birds, it's going to be to help track migration patterns. So you can track wild birds because every time you catch them, if a bird bander catches them, they'll look at that tag if it already has one on it, and they can see where it was first tagged. They'll be able to know where it came from, and it's very, very helpful for seeing exactly where these birds are coming and going during the different seasons. Okay, so this here was Cher, our ivory-billed aracari, and I'm gonna go stick her back now. All right, now we're gonna see yet another rodent, and this one is a rat. All right, a lot of people do not like rats because they can be kind of creepy pests, especially here in New England. We have rats here in the wild, but you don't really like when they come into your home. But this one here is a very interesting rat. This one was bred in captivity and has this nice light color. But what's super cool is if you look at his eyes, he has one red eye and one black eye. So it's pretty interesting to see that there. It's a cool genetic anomaly that can sometimes happen with rats and can be passed down from the parent to its offspring. I have a rat today because they're found in almost every continent, but you can definitely find them throughout different parts of South America. And they're kind of a great animal to add if you just want to talk about the good variety. So they're going to be all over the world with the different patterns, different colors. And since they breed so rapidly, that's why they're very popular in lab work. So you can easily see changes to its generations and quickly breed to get more offspring. They have a nice long tail on the back, which is used for balance. So it's going to wrap around when they move from one spot to the next. And that's going to give them a little bit more confidence as they are climbing. Okay? When a rat gives birth, they'll have a bunch of babies at once. And they are completely blind. They cannot see. They're known as pinkies when they are first born. It's going to be a small, hairless little baby rat, a little pup, and then they'll end up getting a bit of fur. They'll become fuzzies, and then they'll become like even bigger and bigger, and they grow pretty quick, but they are adorable when they're little babies. Maybe not right at first. It's not everyone's favorite to see those little pinkies. I think they're cute, but definitely once they get their fur and their big ears start to really come in, you're going to think that they're pretty adorable when they're walking around. And rats make amazing pets. A lot of people are freaked out by that long tail, so they kind of judge a book by its cover. But if you get a rat, they can be the sweetest things ever. They will bond with you. They have a very short lifespan, unfortunately, only about 3 years. So that is the major downside to having one as a pet. But other than that, they can be great. And they'll snuggle with you. It's usually best to get at least 2. And you should definitely make sure that you're getting 2 males or 2 females, unless you're planning on having babies, because they will mate rapidly. They're going to have lots and lots of offspring as they're living if you have a male and a female together. All right. Just like the other rodents we've seen, they do have very prominent teeth, and those teeth are gonna be very sharp, and they will never stop growing. All right, so this one here is a rat. All right. This next animal here is really amazing. This one is a 3-banded armadillo, and his name is Mordecai. And the way to tell that he is a 3-banded armadillo rather than some of his other cousins, such as the 6-banded armadillo, the 9-banded, 12-banded, the pink fairy, there's all different types, is to look at his back. So if you see here, he has 3 very prominent bands. So 1, 2, and 3. And each of those are what's going to allow him to curl up into a ball. Now, what's cool about the 3-banded armadillo is that they are one of the only types that can fully curl into a ball. And he looks super curled up at the moment, but he's actually not even as tight as he could go. When he's fully curled up, it will be so tight that a piece of paper will be unable to slide into his body through the crevices. So if I put him down on this table back here, you're going to be able to see him kind of pop up and walk around a little bit. All right, so let's check on Mordecai here and see him walk around. Let's give him a second. Sometimes he's a little bit shy. Now, while we're waiting, I'll keep on talking about him. So these guys are completely bulletproof. So their back is going to be very, very protected from other predators. And there is actually only one animal that will go after the armadillo typically, and that is the jaguar. Most animals do not have a strong enough bite force to be able to puncture through their back and actually get to this animal. So they're just not even going to try. The crocodile would be able to, but they would probably shatter many of their teeth in the process. But the jaguar will go after them for sure. Now, humans will sometimes eat the armadillo, but if you do, you have to make sure it's fully cooked. Because just like with chicken, if you eat it raw, you'll get salmonella. If you eat an armadillo raw, you'll get leprosy, which is not fun. So you don't want to get leprosy from them. So I would avoid eating armadillos unless you know exactly how to prepare their meat. Okay, now let's see if he wants to get up a little bit. He might be a little sleepy at the moment as well. You don't want to get up today? That's all right, we won't force him. I'll put him on his side and see if he'll be encouraged to stand up. Not right now. All right, let me bring him over so you guys can get a better look at his face now that he's a little bit less curled up. There we go. You can see his cute face right now. With his nice eyes. He looks very sleepy today, and that's okay. So all of these hairs on his belly are called trigger hairs, and those are used to help detect predators and to look for insects. So this type of armadillo here is an insectivore, meaning that they only eat bugs. So they're gonna love to eat things like ants and termites. Those are some of their favorites. So anytime an ant or a termite touches those hairs on this guy's belly, he'll be able to tell that they're there and he'll start to gobble them up. If it's a predator touching those, he'll get alarmed and then he'll quickly curl up into a ball. And that is how he's going to stay safe and defended. And like I briefly mentioned, they are bulletproof. Many armadillos, if you shoot them with a small caliber bullet, it will ricochet off of their body and just bounce right off and go somewhere else. So they're really going to be completely defended. And their back is made of keratin, which is the same as our fingernails, our hair, turtle shells, pangolin scales, let's see, rhino horns. So there's all different animals that have that material keratin over their body and mostly used to defend themselves. All right, so I'm going to go stick Mordecai back and we're going to move on to probably a scaly animal now. All right, now we got a snake today. So this snake here is Cream, and Cream is a Colombian Boa. So Colombian boas, although they say have Colombia in the name, they are found in Colombia, but they're also found all over different parts of Central and South America as well. And these guys are amazing climbers. They're going to spend a lot of time going up into trees, and that's why you see him wrapping around my arm here. So this is a behavior called anchoring, where the snake will hold on nice and tight so they don't fall down. If a snake bites you and then wraps around you, that is going to be constricting, and that is when they are being more aggressive. And even constrictors, compared to venomous snakes, they will both still bite. The constrictor is biting for a different reason. Their bite, although it is a bit painful, is not as much to kill you. It's more so they can bite on, get a great grip without the prey being able to slip away, and then they'll be able to constrict once they're holding on nice and tight to their prey. And their teeth typically face a little bit more backwards. So as they bite on and then the prey tries to pull away, it's going to dig deeper and deeper, and it's going to be harder for the prey to get loose from that snake's bite. Okay? You can see he's really moving around. They have solid muscles, so he's going to hold and stay snug against my body to get a nice good grip. And these guys are ectothermic, or if you remember from some of our past videos, cold-blooded, meaning that their body temperature changes based on their surroundings. So they're not going to have a constant temperature like the endothermic animals like humans and other mammals. So we are always at a stable temperature. These guys here are not. So their body temperature is always changing, and they love to be warm. So we had this guy in a little carrier for now, and it has a nice heat pack in it to keep him nice and toasty. His enclosure is very, very warm. And then our body's pretty warm. So that's why he likes to hang up near our wrists, or they love to go near your neck, even though you should not let them on your neck, because our neck is the warmest part of our body. So a snake oftentimes will wrap around your neck nice and tight and get a good warm snuggle in, and then you can't breathe too well. So it's a lot safer on your arms because you can still breathe, and they're going to be just as toasty and going to be very, very comfortable there. And this guy is sticking out his tongue a bit. Let me see if I can get his face close to the camera so we can see that up close. So when he wiggles his tongue, that is going to be his way of smelling. So snakes smell with their tongue. They have a forked tongue that they wiggle outside of their mouth, and then it pulls back in and tells them if there's any prey on the left or right side of their body. And they can do that by using the Jacobson's organ inside of their mouth, which detects any prey or detects food around them. It can't really tell them what the food is or much else about it, but they know that there is a living thing there that they may be able to snack upon. So it's a really, really helpful sense for the snake to use. Since they actually don't have ears, they cannot hear. So they're going to rely on some of those other senses much, much more. Okay, let's see. Fully grown, these guys can get pretty big. The females get up to 12 feet long on average. The males are a bit smaller. So as a male, this guy will not get as big as the females. Females need to be a bit bigger to have more space for the babies. And what's cool about boas like this one is that they have live birth. So their babies are going to slither out fully developed, ready to go. They have a soft internal egg that's going to hatch inside, and the baby's going to continue incubating inside before it is born completely live. A python is going to lay a nest of eggs. So that's a good way to tell the two apart, a python and a boa. They do have some other differences as well, but one of the biggest is really how they give birth. So these guys are viviparous, meaning live birth bearing, while a python is oviparous. Ovi is usually given for things that lay eggs, so ovi is an egg layer. All right, I'm going to stick this one back. We're going to move on to another furry one. All right, this next animal here is one of my favorites at Animal Adventures. This is Narnia, and she is a kinkajou. So kinkajous are members of the raccoon family, even though they more closely resemble a lemur. And she's tucking her little face in right now because she is nocturnal, which means that she is active at nighttime and she sleeps during the day. So she likes it a little bit darker, and it's nice and dark in my arm there. Now she does look a bit like a lemur because of this long prehensile tail that she has. And she's going to use this to hang from the trees and aid in climbing in the Central and South American rainforests and jungles, okay? So they are amazing climbers. They're often referred to as honey bears because they love to eat honey. They have a 6-inch long tongue to do so, and they're going to stick that 6-inch long tongue into the beehive and get honey all over them. And they're kind of slobs when they eat. So they get it all over their face, all over their fur. And when they run through the forest, pollen will stick to them. And when they keep going around, they'll end up pollinating the flowers. So they're very, very important ecologically because they aid in pollinating the flowers and keeping that forest flourishing. The bear part of their name comes because they look like a tiny little bear. And I'm sure it also has to do with the honey as well, since bears love to eat honey too. What's really awesome about these guys is that their fur grows backwards. So it's going to grow from tail towards the head. And that's going to allow the rainwater to run right down their back when it does start to rain instead of soaking them. So if you ever pet a kinkajou and you pet downwards, they're super soft. But if you pet upwards, they feel even softer because that's the natural way that their fur is going to move, which is pretty incredible. We feed these guys a wide variety of food. So they get a monkey biscuit. Although they're not a primate, they eat a lot of the same foods that a primate would eat. And then we give them lots of fruits and vegetables as well. One thing that we always avoid here with our kinkajous are strawberries. So not all kinkajous have an issue with strawberries or an allergy to them, but enough reportings have been made that we want to be extra cautious with that. So we do not feed our kinkajous any strawberries, just in case they may be allergic to them. So we usually give those right to the goats to kind of get rid of them. Our goats are pretty much our garbage disposal for any extra fruits and vegetables that we may have that we don't have another use for. So they're going to take everything that we do have that is healthy for them. Okay, let's get another good look at that cute face. Those huge eyes are really going to aid in helping them see better at nighttime since they are nocturnal. And if you look at the throat, she has a little interesting patch there. That is a patch that they're going to use to release scent. So the females have it as a pheromone patch to aid in mating season. So they're going to be able to find a mate better that way by releasing their own special scent, their own pheromone there. You see that long tongue coming out? She is a very sleepy girl at the moment. She is ready to go back to bed. And after we're done with this video, she will go straight back to bed. And pretty soon it's going to be dinner time for her. So she'll get to come back up, explore with her little friend Dobby who lives together with her, and then they will get to have their dinner. All right, so this was Narnia the kinkajou, and she honestly is one of my favorites. I think she is sweet as can be, and they're so interesting. Hello to the family. All right, so this one here is Ursula, and Ursula is a coati. So coatis are members of the raccoon family. There are many different types. So some you will find coming into North America and Central America. This girl here is going to be predominantly in South America. And they are basically daytime raccoons. So they're very similar to the raccoon that we have, but they are what's known as diurnal, meaning they're awake during the day, while our raccoons are nocturnal, so awake at nighttime. And they have that same sort of long striped tail that our raccoons have, with a really, really interesting face that has a bit more of, let's see, kind of depending on the type of coati that you have, it's going to look a little bit different. So hers isn't as masked, but some of them have a really interesting facial pattern on it. And these guys eat just about anything. They're very, very good eaters with like any fruits and vegetables that they find. They'll eat some meat. And oftentimes, if you ever go to Mexico, which I know is not in South America, but you're going to have a similar experience in South America, these guys will raid your picnic areas or your hotels and resorts, and they will steal everyone's packed lunches if you ever have like a picnic on the beach. That is what they are known for doing, which is pretty entertaining. And you should not pet them. If you see them, they look super cute, and they're gonna come over and be all sweet and sneaky to be able to steal your food, but avoid it. Don't let them do it because they can be pretty aggressive. If you've ever heard of a coatimundi, that is the same animal. That is just a male coati. It means lone male coati. And the coatimundis are get their name because they are cast out from the family group. So coatis live in a large family group with many, many females, and at some point many of the males will be cast out until they go find their own family group, and unfortunately they're usually cast out again afterwards. Coatis also have an amazing sense of smell. Once they smell something, they will never forget it. What are you doing, silly girl? Once they smell something, they will never forget that smell, and they can trace their way back through the forest. So if they find a smell they really like, say it's like a flower or even a pile of poop or something very, very fragrant, positive or negative, they're going to run all around, they're going to grab it, they're going to spit all over it, and then they're going to rub that on their tail. And then when they run through the forest, they'll be able to trace their scent back through the forest. It's going to be like having their own natural scent, leaving a beautiful trail for them that they'll be able to find their way back home or back to like maybe a stash of food or whatever else that they are looking for. All right, so this one here is a coati, also from Central and South America. This bird here is a turkey vulture. So turkey vultures are found kind of all over North America, Central America, and South America. You're gonna find a very wide range for them. And they're easily told apart from some of the other vultures by their head. So they have that completely bald head, which is gonna keep their head clean from the dead meat and everything that they'll be eating. So it's less messy all over their face. And it looks a lot like a turkey, like the wild turkeys you find around here. turkey vultures have a very wide wingspan, up to 5 to 6 feet wide. Oh, look at that, he's showing off right as I say. That's pretty impressive. And they are going to predominantly eat carrion. So carrion is any sort of dead meat that they can find. So say like roadkill or a leftover carcass from another animal's hunt, whatever sort of nasty scraps they can find, they are going to consume. It's going to be a big part of their diet. So they'll really, not too picky, they'll eat whatever they can get. We got this one here as an injured bird, so likely hit by a car. Again, it's tough to tell with a lot of the birds of prey that we take in if they were hit by cars or other injuries. We just kind of get the call that there's an injured bird that needs a permanent home, and we'll be able to take them in if we have the space for them. All right. They do have a kind of gross defensive mechanism. If a turkey vulture feels threatened, what they're going to do is vomit, and they're going to vomit up whatever they ate before. It's very, very potent in smell, and it's going to be very disgusting to any other animal, and it's going to give them a chance to fly away as well to defend themselves. When these guys are flying, you can easily distinguish them from some other birds of prey, like the black vulture, based on their wings. They have very wide wings, and there's a horizontal stripe on the underside of the wing between a black and white color. So it's going to have white on the bottom, black up top, and that's going to go the entire length of the wing. The black vulture, who we'll see next, has a all black wing, except they have white fingertips on those wings. All right, so this one here is a turkey vulture. This next bird here is a black vulture, so very, very similar to that turkey vulture we just saw. Often found a little bit more south, so definitely all over South America and the more southern parts of the United States, and then throughout Central America. Black vultures are, like I said, very similar. They're also going to have a diet consisting predominantly of carrion, any of those dead animals, and they're considered to be the least concern animals. They're really not a huge concern for their overall population in the wild. And they have a slightly smaller wingspan, closer to 4 to 5 feet compared to the turkey vulture's 5 to 6 feet. And they're going to still do some of those same behaviors of vomiting to get rid of predators. And when they fly, like I mentioned, it'll be an all black wing, except the tips will have white on them. So it almost looks like they're wearing magician's gloves. So they have the white fingers all over their the tips of their wings. That's a good way to tell them apart from the turkey vulture, because other than that, they look very similar from a distance. And these ones don't have that bald head, it's slightly bald, but they don't have that overall bald head with the red coloration. They have more of a bald mask with a black color to it. All right, so this one here is a black vulture. This animal here can be a little intimidating for some, but this is our green anaconda. Her name is Jezebel, and she is close to 18 feet long. Right now, most of her body's in the water. I believe she actually may be fully in the water. And that is really important for anacondas. They're going to spend a lot of time in the water because they are the heaviest snake in the world. So since their body is so heavy, it takes a lot of work to move on land. So they're going to spend a lot of time underwater, since that's going to lift their body up and relieve a lot of the pressure that is on their extremely heavy body. And they can reach weights up to 500 pounds or more. So they're going to be very, very heavy. They're also one of the strongest snakes. So they are a constrictor. They're in the boa group, and they are going to be able to crush pretty much any prey that there is in the area for them to take down. They do have the strength to crush a school bus like a soda can if they could physically wrap around a school bus. So it's something that's really impressive for them. Very, very powerful animals. And she is not nice. She is pretty aggressive with us, so we have to be very, very cautious with her. She's an animal that we don't go in there with unless we're positive she is asleep. If she's sleeping, then we can quickly do any cleaning or work that needs to be done. If she's awake, then we just hold off until we know that she is asleep, because she will strike at pretty much anything and anyone that gets a little too close to her. In the wild, they are going to be taking down very large prey, any sort of big mammals that they find. They could take down even crocodilians, caiman. In captivity, we feed her lots of rabbits and chickens, ducks, a lot of the different larger prey animals from local labs that they're able to give us. and she will do fine on those, and she'll eat maybe once a month or so. A lot of these big snakes in the wild are not going to eat that often, and in captivity they're not going to eat that often either. So giving them a smaller meal compared to what they'd be used to in the wild kind of keeps them more full for a short amount of time, and then you can really keep track of how much they are eating, rather than giving one very large meal, which could keep them full for 6+ months. All right. They are a beautiful snake, a very, very interesting pattern with the circles and the greenish tint to them. It's really going to help them camouflage in the wild, and they'll be found all over kind of like the Amazon River areas of South America, so more of like the northern parts of South America. All right, so this is Jezebel, our green anaconda. All right, this next animal here is Mojo, and Mojo is a black-capped squirrel monkey. They're found in South America. You can find them in parts of Brazil, Peru, Bolivia, so kind of that whole region, and they are very small. They're one of the smaller monkeys you're going to find in the world, and they're honestly pretty cute, very fresh. They have quite the personality. I'd say I would compare it almost like a 2-year-old combined with a teenager, so very, very mischievous. Very naughty, but super playful. They can be cuddly and sweet when they want to be, but it's tough to get them to that point. And it's also tough with any primate to get them to really want to interact with you unless you work with them for a long time and take your time with them. It's really completely up to the monkey or any primate that you're working with, that it's up to them. You can't force them to do anything. You can't force them to be your buddy. And if they are, it's a huge bonus, okay? They get their name due to the black coloration on top of their head. Looks like they're wearing a little black hat. There are some other types of squirrel monkeys as well, but this black hat is pretty unique to them, which gives them their identifiable name. All right, in the wild, they can live in family groups of 50 to 75 plus individuals. We only have one of our squirrel monkeys here, so we only have Mojo. That's because as a baby, he was actually cast out from his family group. He was born at a lab setting, and he was stolen from his mother by another female monkey. And when they got him from the other female monkey, he was not accepted back by the mother. What are you doing? Not accepted back by his mother, and then he couldn't go live with the group. It's often very difficult, especially with primates, if they've been abandoned by the group, to get them to be reintegrated into that social structure, because that's just how the dynamic goes. You're either part of the group or you're cast out and you're not part of the group anymore. And unfortunately for him, that's how it went. So we took him in as a tiny little baby, and he's been living with us ever since. He's really bonded to some of the staff here. He really enjoys being with people. You can see right now how he just loves to be high up on our shoulders, very close to us, wants to stay right with people. It also helps that I have some treats for him. I have some animal crackers today, which are a nice special snack for this guy. They're going to be omnivores in the wild, eating a variety of fruits and veggies, as well as eggs, small rodents, insects. So they'll go after all different prey, or even just things that they can scavenge for in the wild as well. We typically feed him a high vegetable diet rather than fruit. Fruit gives these guys severe diarrhea, especially in captivity. It seems like he has a lot of diarrhea if you give him too much fruit. So we really don't give him much fruit at all, hardly any. Maybe every now and then a tiny, tiny little piece as a little treat. But other than that, he's really going to do well on that vegetable diet, as well as getting a lot of monkey biscuits. So those are it's almost like a dog food, a high protein, high calorie block that they get that gives them all the nutrients that they're really requiring. It's going to be a great type of feed for most monkeys. And there's different types as well. So we get some that are great for him. We also give those to our African vervet monkey, and they work well with her as well. But with some other primates, they might require a more specific type of monkey biscuit. So we've been doing the different types with him, and it works great. All right. So let me bring him a little closer so you can get a nice good look at him, because he is pretty cute. Definitely want to see him up close. There he is. He's very curious. You can see he's looking right at the camera, kind of looking all around. He does have some nice, very big eyes. Those are going to help him look all around his environment. These guys would have many predators in the wild due to their small size. So it's been important for them to be able to see what's coming and be on the lookout for anything that might be a bit more dangerous. What are you doing? Did you drop your cracker? And then this very long tail is going to help them a lot with climbing. So you can see how it wraps around me. It's really helping him with balance. That's going to give him greater balance, especially in a high tree. If he's moving from one branch to the next, being able to have something that kind of wraps around that tree, wraps around that branch, so they have a bit more support is going to be very important for a squirrel monkey when they're moving from tree to tree. All right, so this here was Mojo, our black-capped squirrel monkey. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching this portion of the series. This was all about South America. Again, my name is Drew from Animal Adventures, and thank you to the Killingly Library for hosting this series. I hope you look forward to seeing our next video, and I hope you watched our past ones. And hopefully someday we'll get to see you here at Animal Adventures. So thank you again.